How are you doing today, sir?
I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think I've told you this in the past, but I'll say it again. I'm a huge fan of your work. Thank you so much for giving me your time today.
Thank you.
So I have a lot of things I want to talk to you about, but the first is I want to say thank you. And you're probably wondering why.
Why?
I am a huge Wachowski fan. Huge. And literally your film was the first thing that they've done on camera for anyone in, like, forever, in so many years. Talk a little bit about, was it challenging to get them to agree to talk about this, or was it something that's close to their heart?
I can't speak for them in terms of... all I can say is I'm really grateful that they took the time to meet with me. And they have a wonderful passion, knowledge, and experience in storytelling and movie making. And so for me to have the opportunity to speak about this subject, film, digital, and then broadening that into archival, or to starting to speak about the experience of watching a movie. I mean, it just kind of opened up. And, to be able to speak to, people who have such knowledge and passion. And so, I don't know why they said yes, but I'm really happy they did.
Well, since you talked to them, they actually talked a little bit about Cloud Atlas. Actually, speaking about their thought. Anyway, I think you've gotten them actually a little more camera ready.
No. I mean, Lana and Andy had done a documentary on some other work that they were doing. So I think there was a little sympathy towards a documentary filmmaker saying, would you please speak with me?
Right.
And so they had gone through that. So I think that might have helped. And yeah, it's great that, they're such wonderful people, and it's just great that they're, sharing that with us.
Totally. I'll say thank you. Moving on, for 4 or 5 years now I've been doing set visits, and one of my staple questions, and even at junkets, it's always been film or to the director, film or digital, and why. And half the people that I'm on a set visit with always look at me like, why are you always asking this question? But I've been fascinated by this changing tide in Hollywood for years. Your film is literally something that for me, this was just fantastic. Great film. What surprised you in terms of, what did you learn that surprised you about what's going on in the business, or was there anything that surprised you? Big question, I know.
No, I'm just kind of going through all of the things. One of them was archival. Another thing that surprised me was David Lynch saying that I won't hold you to it, David, but why not work in film again? Tom Rothman from Fox was saying that there's 5 years left from his perspective for film. That was a short clock. And that was like, it really surprised me when Airflex announced that they weren't going to make film cameras anymore. Kind of speaking with Technicolor and just how that business was changing in terms of, we're not going to make film anymore. Print, or not so much. But the documentary, and I think it kind of speaks about to all of this industry change. It's like, what are we losing? What are we gaining? And I was kind of, one of the surprises was the interpretation of gaining. The opportunity for different screens, the democratization, and then that turning into the philosophy of what are we watching, how do we watch it, what do we want from what we watch, what is it delivering, what are the expectations, that I think is full of surprises. The new audience,
sure,
the new way to watch a movie, and I don't have any answers to that.
I think that in the last few years, Roger Deakins saying that he's going to shoot on the Arri Alexa, and I spoke to Roger about this, and he professed his love for the camera. When you have someone on that level saying, I'm going digital, I think, for me, that is where the tide is officially like, okay, everyone's getting on board.
Yeah, and in the early days, there was it was still today to me, it's a look. It's like, what look are you choosing to have? Which way are you going? And for Mr. Deakins, I don't know him, but to say, okay, I'm shooting digitally, the look of it must be interesting to him. The process of using it must be interesting to him. And yeah, that's part of the con. I'm sure you were saying you asked people, film or digital for the past 4 years.
Yes.
And that's what it is. It's like, how does it work? What does it look like? What does it do? And in the documentary, Christopher Nolan is kind of saying, it's not there yet for me. What I do, digital isn't there yet for me. And then for other people, it's like, it's right there. It's right now for me. And technologically, it's always, as Lucas says, it's going to get better.
Well, I think
Wally Pfister talks about that. Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that 4 or 5 years ago, digital with the Genesis and with those early digital cameras, you could tell you're watching digital. But now cameras are evolving to a place where, digital is a real...
And projection.
Well, that's what I wanted to open the door on, is projection, because I personally have no problems looking at a digital image that's been shot, but when the digital projection is not as good as it should be, that is where the whole thing comes apart.
Yep. It really does. It does. And, I mean, again, when we speak about this, we get into, I don't know, it's like practical philosophy. What what you've lost. You're like, that's not as good an image.
Sure.
But it's a different image. Does it matter?
Well, I think that
you know what I mean? And yeah, you want to have a standard. You want to have, the standard of a beautiful print or the standard of a digital image with a projector that has the light bulb at the right luminance, and the screen is the appropriate screen, and all of those things to have it technically right and beautiful, because that's important.
I really say, though, the digital projection, they have to solve that issue, because I've gone to some screenings where I'm looking at an image that doesn't seem as focused as it should be, and even if it was shot on film or digital, because the projection is off, again, it's just angering.
Yeah, because you don't get in. You don't get involved. It doesn't grab you. There's a surface quality to it. There's no depth. It doesn't touch you the same way. It doesn't reach you the same way. Yeah, and what Nolan says, it's not acceptable.
Yes.
It's not acceptable. It's a big thing. I paid some dough for this. This is not why. And his question is, well, why is this being shoved down our throats? I'm losing the choice to have this excellence. And now it's kind of going a different way. But the projector image has always been a moment. Has always been. Hello, baby.
Yeah.
Projection is always, even if it's digital or photochemical, there's always been that thing with the bulbs and all of that, and having to have the projector. I mean, Scorsese talks about it in the documentary.
But that's one of the reasons.
It's a real main auteur, right?
Yeah, no, totally, and that's one of the.
Can't chase a reel, I'm busy.
That's one of the reasons I'm addressing it, though. I do listen. I love Chris Nolan and I love Wally Pfeiffer. I just pronounced his name wrong, but I love their work. I do think, though, in 5 years, when the cameras, maybe when an IMAX camera can go digital and the resolution is 8K and the image can be manipulated to looking exactly like film, they're getting on board the train. But I think that right now, because it's not all the way there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, though.
No, that sounds like a good reason not to be there. It's not as good.
Right, totally.
It's different, though.
I want to open the door, though, on you as a filmmaker, because not only have you done this, but you are directing or have directed something.
Yeah, I just finished principal photography on a Kung Fu movie shot digitally.
And this is what I was going to say, as I've done for 4 or 5 years now, film or digital, and why?
Originally, going into the project, I was hoping and expecting to shoot on film, but I shot in China, in mainland China and Hong Kong. Basically, from the producerial side of it, there was a question, resources, really, I shouldn't even say producer, resources. It's like, okay, film costs this much, digital costs this much. We're in, what is our quality QC, quality control going to be like where we are? What affords us the best, So I tested some cameras and some film stocks, and I decided to shoot digitally.
And which camera?
I'm really happy with that.
What camera did you shoot?
I used the Arri Alexa Studio camera, 4.3 chip.
Did you think about the red
with
epic?
some Hawk lenses.
Well, that's the other thing. A lot of filmmakers are using, and you sort of addressed it with the Genesis camera in the film, with the lenses that Panavision was trying to get on their digital camera, but a lot of filmmakers I've spoken to are using digital cameras with old school 70s lenses to sort of give it a different look.
Yummy.
Exactly. And
well, yeah, because it kind of it creams it up a bit. It gives it a little, less... it's weird, when you talk about film or the image, it kind of turns into like wine. You use things like it's robust, the bouquet, the grape, the way it falls off, the chocolate, the cinnamon, the earthy tones. And that's like, what the heck is that? So you're like talking about film and digital. It's not as creamy, the edges, it doesn't flow, it has no depth. What are those qualities, So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I think we used kind of pretty fast lenses. The Hawks, they were new anamorphics, but we chose anamorphic, and on the digital, it's a really great combination. It's a yummy, yummy image.
I have a million other questions, but I definitely want to ask you about, obviously you have some titans of the industry in the documentary. How hard was it for you? Did you personally call these people up and say, hey, I'm making a doc? Did you have someone do that for you? Because you got people that normally don't talk to talk.
No, this really wasn't... Side by Side is an expedition for me and for Chris Keneally. When we were in Technicolor, New York, and we just said, wow, this is changing, let's go do this. Do you want to go? I said, Chris, do you want to go do this? It's really personal. And Chris was just like, it may be personal, Kim, but we have to make this for everybody. This is for the specialists, for the general audience. This is about movies, movie making, and if it's a behind the scenes. And so for me, people that we approached, it was personal.
As a filmmaker, do you see yourself, because I'm excited to see what you're going to be, I'm really excited to see your movie. And I'm curious, opening the door on doing a documentary like this, now making a martial arts feature, are you now stepping behind the camera more? Is there other documentaries or other subject matter that has always interested you that you're going to open the door on?
Yeah, I'd like to. As with anything, you need the story. If the film that I'm working on now is any good, I might get a chance to do it again. Even if it's not, if I have a story to tell, maybe I'll work to try and tell that story. Documentary as well. Off the cuff, I always wanted to make a documentary. I'd like to do something called Life in Art and speak to actors and talk about their films and their lives, not in a sensational way, but just kind of the interaction, this idea of life and art. So Jack, while you were making this movie, what was going on? What is happening here? What was going on artistically in your mind? What's your approach to the acting here? So something like that.
Yeah, you see, you need someone on your level, someone who also has the respect of the people you're talking to. You know what I mean? To have people, I think, open up and engage, which is why I think Side by Side is so good, because you know what I mean? The people that you're speaking with are looking at you as a level peer.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah, absolutely. And I think that helped once in a while, that they might be familiar with some of the work I had done, and I've been around for a little bit, so... I
think you've done a few things people have seen.
A couple of things.
Right, just one or two.
Yeah, and hopefully like. So, yeah, right. I think absolutely. I think also it's like, it would be like in sports or anything. It's like there's a kind of, I hope that could be true, if I get to do Life in Art.
I think you could probably make that happen. With digital cameras, I heard it's cheaper.
It is. That's another consequence of digital, right? This is a kind of renaissance of the documentary.
Oh, 100%. And the quality that's coming out at TIFF and Sundance and everything is really great because of the cameras. But I definitely want to ask you about... I definitely want to ask you about your film. Did you direct it for like an R rating, for a PG-13?
I went through the PG-13 lens. The film is mostly in Mandarin, so it's about 70% Mandarin, 15% Cantonese, and the rest in English.
For fans, when can they look forward to seeing a trailer or anything?
Yeah, well, if it all goes according to plan, hopefully sometime early next year.
Do you have a plan for when you want to release it, or a festival?
Yeah, maybe, hopefully around May, June, April, May, June. everything goes according to plan.
Okay, because I believe earlier next year you have a movie called 47 Ronin coming out.
Yes, yes.
Have you seen a rough cut yet? What
I
have you
haven't
seen?
seen anything, no. I've seen some, on set, I've seen some sizzle reels and, some collections of some of the images. It looks absolutely astounding, beautiful, and incredible.
I have to wrap with you, but two quick last questions.
Sure.
Because on Twitter, I got about 1,000 people when I said I was talking to you. Everyone wanted to know, do you actually think a Bill and Ted movie might... the amount of people that tweeted me is crazy.
Those films. I love those films.
Right, I mean, personally, I'm of the opinion this is never going to happen, ever, no matter what anyone says, but I definitely want to hear it from you if you actually think something like that could happen.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility that it might happen.
That's a nice politician answer. I like that.
Yeah.
My last thing for you. I've heard rumors that you actually did or went to the Point Break Live that exists in LA.
I never saw that.
And I saw it recently, and
okay.
It blew my mind. It's just fantastic. And there was rumors. Oh, it was a blast. It was just so much fun. They have the audience come up. There's a lot of participation, drinking. There's a lot of water. It's great. But there was a lot of hearsay about Keanu's actually been here. He did this.
Oh, no, I haven't done it yet. No, I should do that.
Because I think people would lose their minds if you actually...
I'd have to play Bodhi or something like that.
I'm just throwing this out there. Is there a possibility you'd even explore going to it? Because I think people would lose their minds.
Yeah, sure.
Let me know when you're going.
Okay, maybe when they have an anniversary, like the 5th-year anniversary or something like that.
Cool. Well, I'm going to say to you, congratulations on the film. It's fantastic, and both film nerds and non-film nerds should really check it out.
Thanks for that. I hope so.
Let me hit